بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Last lesson we talked about sighting the moon, and we emphasized that in Islam we know the beginning and the end of months by sighting the moon, especially the month of Ramadan and the month that follow that, where we need to know the beginning and the end of the months for performing forms of worship to Allah Almighty. Now, some would say, is it compelling? Is it a must, if the moon is sighted in one region, that all Muslims worldwide consider that as sighting for their regions or not? There is a different opinion between scholars. Each has his own opinion and think that this is the best and most authentic verdict of all. The most authentic verdict is that each region has their own sighting. Some scholars say the regions that follow a leader, one leader, they should all fast in the same time. So if it was sighted in the east of that region, the people in the west, north, and south of it should follow that sighting, because they all have one leader that joins them all under his leadership. Some scholars say, no, one leader is good enough for other leaders. So they should all fast regardless of their differences of stay. But the most authentic opinion is, no, there are regions. And during the past 14 centuries, it was never reported to us that all Muslims worked with one sighting, that they all followed the same sighting and they all fasted in the same day because of this single sighting. It was never reported to us during the past 14 centuries, and I don't think there is any reason to do it now. Each region has their own sighting. Okay, let's assume that I see and I sight the moon. I go to the judge, the Islamic judge, and I report my sighting. And for a reason or the other, they don't accept my sighting. Whether because they think I'm not qualified for that, they don't think I'm a good Muslim, maybe because I have done something wrong in the past where I was punished for it by Islam, so they would not accept my testimony. So what should I do? Should I fast? And they're not fasting. Or should I pretend to be not fasting but actually fast? Or should I do as they're doing and not fast? And the same happens at the end of Ramadan. If I witness and I see and I sight the moon of Eid that marks the end of Ramadan, and nobody wants to accept my witness, they think it's not acceptable. So what do I do? Do I fast the following day, which I know it's Eid, but nobody else is accepting that fact? They're all fasting. Do I break my fast? The scholars say that the Prophet's hadith governs this problem. He said, the fast is the day you all fast. And the break of fast is the day that you all break your fast. So it's a matter of majority. It's the matter of the Muslims' unity. So if I sight the moon and the people neglect my testimony, then I should do as they do. If they're not fasting, I'm not going to fast. Because at the side of Allah, the month starts when they all agree that it has started. And the month ends when they all agree that it has ended. And this depends on the ruler, the Muslim leader who is running the show and who determines if it is Ramadan or not. We're faced with another problem. If we have different sighting, different regions, then what happens if I start Ramadan in a country in the east and they started Ramadan on Monday, and the other country, which is in the west, started Ramadan on Tuesday. In the middle of the month, I leave my country in the east and go to the west. And Eid, the end of the month, I will be there. And it will be different. When do I cease? When do I stop fasting? According to where I started fasting in the east or where I'm settled now in the west. So it all depends. As-sawmu yawma tasumun. Fasting is the day you all fast. So it depends on the country you're in. So if you start in the east, but you'll end up in the west, you fast with the guys in the east, and when you go to the west, you break your fast with them. Providing that you do not go below 29 days. This means that if they started late, and these guys break their fast for Eid early, this means that you have fasted only 28 days. This is not acceptable. If you fast Ramadan 28, 27 days, this is not acceptable because the month can never go below 29 days. The month is either 29 or 30 days. Okay, what happens if it's the opposite? If I start early and I end up late, I'll end up with fasting 32 days. So what do I do? When I finish 30 days, I break my fast, although in this country I'm in, they still have 2 days left. What do I do? Scholars say no. You fast with them, even if you fast 32 days, even if you exceed 30 days, these 2 days will be considered to you voluntary. But you cannot pinpoint when are these 2 voluntary days are. Are they in the very beginning or in the very end? So you fast with these people, even if they fast or sight the moon early, and you break your fast and end the month with the others, even if they sight the moon late, and this way you will be on the safe side. Okay, now let's come to everyday case. When do I fast? Now I know when to fast throughout the year, in the month of Ramadan. Okay, what about Ramadan? When do I fast? Muslims fast from the break of dawn till sunset. This is the time where we fast. And what a lot of people do nowadays is baseless. It is an innovation. It's not accepted. What is that? A lot of people time their fasting to a quarter of an hour prior to the adhan, the call of prayer for Fajr. They time themselves 15, 20, 30 minutes before the break of dawn. And if you ask them, why do you do that? They say, we would like to make a buffer zone. We prefer to keep this time so that there is no place for doubt. And this is not acceptable at all. It is exactly like those who, after seeing the sunset, they would wait 10, 15 minutes until they are dead sure that the sun has set. This is wrong. A lot of people I know of don't break their fast after sunset. They say, well, just for the benefit of the doubt, I'll go and pray and come back, then I break my fast. And this is not acceptable, because the Prophet ﷺ has said that my nation, my ummah, the Muslim ummah, are still in good welfare. They are still on the right path, providing they make the pre-dawn meal, they make it as late as possible, and they break their fast as early as possible. You are not to have the pre-dawn meal, sahur, you're not to have it 3 or 4 hours before. No, you should have it till the final, to the last minute before the call of the prayer. And also fatur, breaking your fast. You're not to delay it. Not to say 5 minutes, 10 minutes late is better than having it early. No, you should have it as early as possible, as long as you are sure that the sun has set. A lot of people time their fasting to a quarter of an hour prior to the adhan, the call of prayer for Fajr. They time themselves 15, 20, 30 minutes before the break of dawn. And if you ask them, why do you do that? They say, we would like to make a buffer zone. We prefer to keep this time so that there is no place for doubt. And this is not acceptable at all. It is exactly like those who, after seeing the sunset, they would wait 10, 15 minutes until they are dead sure that the sun has set. This is wrong. A lot of people I know of don't break their fast after sunset. They say, well, just for the benefit of the doubt, I'll go and pray and come back, then I break my fast. And this is not acceptable, because the Prophet ﷺ has said that my nation, my ummah, the Muslim ummah, are still in good welfare. They are still on the right path, providing they make the pre-dawn meal, they make it as late as possible, and they break their fast as early as possible. You are not to have the pre-dawn meal, suhoor, you're not to have it 3 or 4 hours before. No, you should have it till the final, to the last minute before the call of the prayer. And also fatur, breaking your fast. You're not to delay it. Not to say 5 minutes, 10 minutes late is better than having it early. No, you should have it as early as possible, as long as you are sure that the sun has set. Another question may arise, and that is it a must for me to break my fast when I hear the adhan? Is it a must for me to stop eating, refrain from food and drinks when I hear the adhan of Fajr? The answer to that is, no, it's not. See, adhan, the call for prayer, is a sign, but it is not everything. In the Quran, Allah did not say that you should refrain from food and beverages when the adhan is called. No, He said when you can differentiate between day and night, when you see the white thread of the day coming up east, and you can differentiate between night and day, then you should stop eating. So, and also, to break your fast is when the sun sets. So, if you are at, I won't say the coast side, because the sun sets elsewhere, but for example, if you are in a country where there's on the horizon it's open, whether it's a desert or a plain piece of land or the sea, and you can see the sun setting down, getting down. The minute you see the whole ring of the sun disappear, you should break your fast. Some of the people that call for adhan, that call for prayer, give 2 to 3 minutes to be on the safe side. If you see it, if the sun has disappeared, you should not wait for the adhan. You should eat. Go ahead immediately. Eat and drink. Because this is what Allah Azza wa Jalla has told you to do. The adhan is just a sign. What happens if the guy forgot? What happens if the guy slept? You still wait? God, it's 2 hours, 3 hours. The guy did not call for adhan. It's nightfall. It's nighttime. It's almost midnight, and the guy did not call. Electricity was off. You could not hear the adhan because no speakers, no microphones, nothing. What will you do? No, you should break your fast the minute the sun has set. And also, You should refrain from drinking, from eating, from doing the things that nullifies your fasting the minute the dawn has come, and you can distinguish between this and that. I think this is all that covers our subject regarding this, but I think that we would have a lot of questions regarding this subject. Does anybody have a question?
Each region has its own sighting. How about Muslims living in non-Muslim region? To clarify my point, let me give you an example. Once I was in the Netherlands, and then it was the beginning of Ramadan. The people of a certain group started fasting in one day because they follow the sighting of their home country. Another group started also fasting in another day. So this resulted in 1 day difference. So what do you think of this case?
This type of difference should not occur among the Muslim community. And we have a very big problem with Muslims worldwide that do not follow the Quran and the Sunnah. Each group thinks that they are doing the right thing. Unfortunately, there are many cases that we have people doing this out of their own private, out of their own personal reasons. I will not go into this, but each region should have an authority. Even if it's a non-Muslim country, for the Netherlands, for example, they should have their own imam. They should have their own Islamic reference they go back to that explains things to them, that can have the power to make marriages, to make divorces, and to give verdicts and fatwa regarding their everyday life. So if this is the scenario, if this is the case, if that Islamic or if that region, non-Muslim region, has this person, then they all should follow what he says. Although he's not a political leader, he's not an authority in the sense of law, nevertheless, Islamically, Muslims should all gather and they all should follow one man so that they don't have any disputes. Those who follow the sighting of their own country are definitely on the wrong track. See, people in Saudi Arabia, if they sight the moon, it is definitely different than those who sight it in the Netherlands. Okay, if you are in a country that does not have this man, and they do not have this Muslim community among them, and no one is there to sight the moon, although I know personally that there are people in the States, there are people in Europe that do sight the moon. Though their countries are considered to be non-Muslim countries, yet they do go and sight the moon. So you should follow them. But in worst case scenario, if you do not have people to go and sight the moon, and there is no Muslim leader that people follow in that particular region, then you should look at the region next to you. You should look at the region closest to you that sights the moon, and you should follow them. Any other question, please? Yes, sir.
In the case of like when you're eating in your pre-dawn meal, and adhan comes in, all right, or the time that is predicted for for the light to come, and you're still having your pre-dawn meal and you just didn't finish, do you stop eating or do you finish what you were eating and then you just fast?
You cannot govern this, because if I tell you finish eating, the guy has a whole big sheep in front of him and said, well, I have to eat this, I have to finish it all. No, it's not this. It all depends on the person calling for the adhan. Now, I'm supposed to stop eating the minute I can tell that the dawn has it's only the break of dawn. Okay? But in today's life, with all these lights and buildings, it's very difficult for me to distinguish that. So I rely entirely on this person calling for the adhan. There is a hadith that he takes responsibility for that. And he's trusted. The Prophet says, ﷺ, the person that calls for adhan is trusted. We trust what he says. So if I believe that this guy is trusted, and I'm willing to perform prayer once he calls the adhan, then I should follow him. So if he calls for the adhan, I should immediately cease eating, stop eating. Okay, with the exception of drinking. Because there is a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, where he says that if the man calls, if the guy calling for prayer, if he calls for prayer, he makes the adhan, while one of you has a pot drinking from it, he should not let it down until he fulfills his needs. So if I have 3 liters and I'm thirsty, and I start drinking, and the guy calls for adhan, Alhamdulillah, I have the permission to keep on drinking until I'm satisfied. Even if it takes 3 minutes to do it, I'm drinking, I'm constantly, well, this is applicable in the cases of camels. You know, camels drink a lot of water, but in our case, it's alhamdulillah, it's your right, you have it. It's not right to do like a lot of people do, is they sit idly and doing whatever they want to do. Once they hear the call for adhan, they rush to the kitchen, open the fridge, and get some water. Well, the guy is calling for the adhan and start drinking. No, this is not acceptable, because this is twisting it. The right way of doing it, if you're drinking and it calls for adhan, don't stop drinking. Keep on drinking. You have the right to do that. But while eating, if it calls for adhan, stop eating. Don't finish your plate. Don't finish your dish, because it is not as important as drinking. Eating, you can go on without eating for a while, but drinking, you have to drink. And you have only limited time that you can wait without drinking. I think this answers your question, and I think that this is all the time we have for today's lesson. Until we meet, inshallah, next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.